Hi, my name's Will, and I make music under the name Electronin. And today I want to talk about how to create a pad on the SH-4d. So I'm going to take this voice I have here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to initialize. So hit Shift and hit, say Enter, because yes, I'm sure I want to initialize the tone, because we're going to just build this from scratch. I'm using the SH-4d model on the SH-4d synthesizer. So, of course, the SH-4d has several different oscillator models. But today we're going to use the SH-4d, which gives us up to 4 oscillators. Now, I may not actually use all 4 oscillators. We'll see where this goes. But right now, as a baseline, it gives me a sawtooth. And this is what it sounds like. And so the first thing I'm going to do is go for the amp envelope here, because a pad, by definition, usually has a slow attack. So I get more of a slow attack. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a slow release too. Down an octave. There we go. And that gives us kind of a basis for starting. It's a bit bright for my pads, so I'm going to bring it down a little bit. I'm going to adjust the cutoff here. That's nice. Okay. So now I'm going to add a second oscillator. So I'll just come over here, and I'm going to bring in maybe a square wave. In fact, I tried one of these things earlier, this modified triangle wave right there. Now right now we're not really hearing it. So these faders here are going to control your level of your oscillator. So there's that sawtooth that I have. I'm going to bring that down. Okay, and then I'm going to bring up the second oscillator. Nice. Okay, now if I go to the timbre here, I can actually pulse width modulate this oscillator. And I want a little bit of animation in my pad. I want to make it interesting over time. It's going to sustain, typically how you use a pad, you're going to sustain chords or notes, and I want them to do something interesting while they sustain. The other thing, I'm going to bring this sawtooth back in, and then I want to take the second oscillator and pitch it up an octave, so plus 12. Okay, and so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a bit of chorus to it. So I'm going over to the chorus here, and then I'm going to just bring in some chorus. And that gives it a bit of motion right there, because the chorus, of course, does some phasing. And that's one of the great features of the SH-4d is it includes Roland's chorus sound. So I think right now I want to animate the filter a little bit. So I'm going to go down to filter. Sorry, this is the LFO, and I'm going to send the LFO to the filter, the cutoff of the filter. And that's nice. The other thing I want to do is I want to randomize it. So I'm going to go over to the type of LFO that it is and bring it over to random. Now I'm listening to how, the range, like where my most extreme ranges on the LFO application of the cutoff. Like, how extreme is the cutoff going to get? The more LFO I send to the filter, the more extreme the range. I want it to be somewhat subtle, so I'm going to reduce the send of the LFO to the filter. Or the signal strength, we can think of that way. And maybe put in a little bit of resonance. So we're going to emphasize frequencies around the cutoff point. Now, adding some delay to that should make it interesting, because we'll hear those emphases being reiterated again and again. Sounds pretty nice. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do here is add in some reverb. Let's see if this reverb send. If I press and hold reverb, it's going to bring up a menu. And then I can go up on this menu, see which type of reverb I have selected here. And it's the shimmer reverb, and that's what I wanted to use. And so if this is the shimmer reverb I was working on earlier, it's already set. So when you bring up the shimmer verb, it's actually set to shimmer or bring in, I guess, like, or accentuate notes at the octave, which is 12 semitones, and then 2 octaves above. Which is good, because if you're making chords and very complex chords, like, say, like a major 9 or something like that, you don't get a lot of crazy interference from the kind of overtones that the shimmer verb is generating. Now, you can do something cool here, which is to go over to the semitones, and I'm going to bring this down to about 7, which means it's going to be a 5th above the given note. And then I'm going to go over here and bring the second pitch all the way down to, see, 12. That's the octave. And then we're going to go, this major second, and here we go. So plus 16 is going to give me basically a 10th above, or a major 3rd. Now if I play it and go low, maybe get like a low frequency, a little bit higher than that, instantly I have a chord, I have a major triad. I'm going to go over here to F, and just with one note I get a chord, and up to G, and down to D, then up to G. So now in the key of C, if I were doing a song in the key of C, a chord built off the note of C would be major, a chord built off the note of F would be major, and the chord built off of G would be major, the 1, 4, 5. Those are major. D, which is the 2 chord, would not be major, but we can think about this as being the 5 in the key of G, and then taking it back down to C, so I get a 5 of 5 to 5 to 1. And that works out harmonically. Now, if all you're going to do is something simple, then that's a great way to go. However, now I go back to the original octave and I start playing that major 9 again. You can hear there's some discordance in the upper overtones. Listen to this again. There are things in there we would consider to be fairly dissonant. So, I'm not going to use that trick, but I'm going to do something slightly different. I'm going to do the octave for the first one, and then 12 plus 7 is going to give us 19. So I'm going to do an octave and a 5th, which gives us some more harmonic interest. It works out well because, for example, if we just looked at I'll exit from here. If we just looked at this one, the sawtooth wave, it's producing harmonics that are an octave above the fundamental note, like C, It's also creating harmonics, and here I'll get rid of the reverb for a second just to kind of illustrate my... Right there. It's producing, and I'm going to increase the resonance to show you this. There's the fundamental. Hear that octave right there? That's the second overtone. Or sorry, the second partial. Now you can hear the third partial, which is a fifth above the second partial, or an octave and a fifth above the fundamental. So these kind of things are present in most of the notes anyways, and so if we extend them into the shimmer verb, they're not going to be as discordant as, say, trying to create a major triad out of it. So that works well. Now I'll bring that shimmer verb back in. Sounds good. I'm going to reduce my resonance because I don't need that much. And there we go. We get a very nice, placid pad. Makes you feel like you're in some kind of sacred space or something like that. Bring in that LFO gently to the filter. Now the rate seems too much to me. Yep, the LFO rate is currently set to 1/16. It's synced. I'm going to take it down and do a really slow, like maybe one whole, like 4 beats, one whole measure. Oops, although that rate was, there we go. And that's a really beautiful sound. I really like that. In fact, I like it so much, I think I will save this, but I won't go through this on the video because if you worked with the SH-4d, you know you have to, the saving is perhaps not the most efficient feature on the unit. But yeah, so this is a way to create a very interesting pad that can sit behind some melodic improvisation, combine it maybe even with some drone bass. These are some of my favorite things to do. If you've seen my videos, you'll see that I like to do that a lot. And that's how you make, that is one way at least, to make a pad on the SH-4d. I should also add, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. See you in the next video.